which is the correct move for him to make in this situation? Now we look at the position again here. Red is clearly winning this position. He only has to get this one checker into his home board and start bearing off, whereas black in this position has to get these two checkers that he has on red's bar point round to his. So red is ahead here. He was, before this move started, he was 14 pips ahead. He was on roll, and he only has to cross this over, whereas black, as I say, has to cross these over twice. He has to cross them into this quadrant, then again into this quadrant. So red is about a 2/3 favourite to win the game as it stands. So he's played his 6 that he was forced to play, and he has to now decide on how to play the 1. So which is the correct way to play the 1? Well, obviously, because of him having to play the 6 and move the checker down here, he's now what we call in range of this black point here on the bar point. Black is holding this point as a last defence. He knows he's behind in the game, so he's holding this point with a chance to hit this. If he does hit a checker of red's, he's almost certainly won the game, because he has a closed board here. Red won't be able to re-enter, and black can then at his leisure get his checkers around and will almost certainly win the game. So red is left with a choice. He knows he's in range of being hit from this point here. And at the moment, if he plays the 1 in board, for example, he leaves this checker 4 spaces away from this point held by black. So let's consider the dice distribution and consider how many chances black has of hitting this checker here. Well, he'll hit this checker, of course, with any rolled 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 will hit, and of course any other combination that would total 4. So let's go through this on the die here for black, and we'll say he will be able to hit with a 4-1, of course, and a 4-2, and a 4-3, and a 4-4, whoops, up to 4-4, and a 4-5, and a 4-6. All of those will allow him to hit because they contain the 4 on this dice. So that's 6 possible ways he can hit that checker. There's also, of course, as we mentioned, it could be done the other way around. If he rolls a 4 on this die, and there are other ways. So 4-1, for example, here is another way, and 4-2, and 4-3. Not the 4-4 again, because we've already covered that. Remember, there's only one way to roll a double 4, so that's already done. The 4-5 will hit, and the 4-6 will hit. So that's another 5 combinations. So that's 11 ways out of the 36, so far we've counted, that black can hit this checker. You can also hit it, of course, with other combinations that would make a 4. He can hit it with a 3-1. He can hit it with a 1-3. So there's 2 more combinations. And we're now up to 13 possible combinations. He can also hit it with a double 1. 2, 3, 4 he can play off there to hit with the double 1. And, of course, he can hit it with a double 2. Being able to move 4 times, of course, 2, 2, and then another 2 moves. So that is 15 ways that black can hit this checker. 15 outcomes of the 2 dice that he will roll will hit. 15 out of 36. So 15 out of the 36 rolls are good rolls for black. Actually, you could say that 16 rolls are not bad for black, because a double 6 in this position, although he wouldn't hit, would get his 2 checkers here around to here, so that he would be in a reasonable position, about even, just to fight the race at the end of the game. But basically 15 good rolls and 1 reasonable roll for black. Okay, now let's think, if red played his 1 differently, if he moved the 1 here instead of playing the 1 in board, would that help his position? So let's think about the dice distribution again. This time any 3 from black will hit. So again we have all of the combinations of dice rolls here that contain the 3. So we have the 3 on this die and then all the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 on here. 6 possibilities. Then we have again the same thing with the other dice, with this being a 3 and the 5 possibilities on this dice, excluding the double 3 of course, because we've already seen that one, so that's 11. Also he has the 2 and the 1 combination here, and the other way of course if it was a 1 and a 2. 2 possibilities there. So that's 13 ways, and he can still hit it with the double 1. 14 ways of hitting this checker. He no longer can hit it with the double 2, however, because there is no way he can make a dice here go from 2 to there. So there is no way he can hit it with a double 2. So this time there are only 14 good rolls, and 15 if you include the double 6s are not a bad option. So it's 1 fewer good roll. So in playing the move here that we saw before, where red moves a checker inboard, is actually an error. That is a mistake, because although it sounds totally insignificant that the black's chance to hit is 15 in 36, whereas if he plays this way it's only 14 in 36. That small difference adds up in the long run to a big difference. It's these little margins that push backgammon games and maximise the luck. This match pivots on this, could pivot on this move. 1 extra chance in 36 doesn't sound much for black, but in the long run, every 36 times this happens, he's going to win a match where he wouldn't have done normally. And it's these margins that make the difference in backgammon. They sound insignificant, but they are crucial in play, maximising the number of rolls that are good for you and minimising the number of rolls that are good for the opponent. So now, if black plays the move, and let's say he does roll, let's say the 2-1 here on black's roll, and he does hit, well yes, that's still going to almost certainly win him the game, and that's unfortunate for red from having moved here and he got hit. But he still made the right play in minimising black's chances to hit it and therefore win the game, or at least almost certainly win the game. If on red's turn previously, when he was back over here, and he hadn't been forced with that 6, supposing he really only rolled, say, let's say a 3 and a 1, or let's say something a bit more marginal, so 5 and a 1 here he rolled. He's no longer forced to move this checker now, because he can play the 5 inboard from here, and he probably should do in this case. He can play the 5 from here and the 1 here, and that way he's not exposing this checker to be hit. So by maintaining the distance here, he buys himself time, and when black plays his move on the next turn, red will be hoping he will be forced to move off this defensive point here and expose his checkers to be hit. So this is just a quick look at how you use dice distribution, the knowledge of what dice rolls will be good and bad for you, to maximise your play.